Thanks. Totally forgot about it. All right, so yeah, I'm recording this meeting. Hello, everyone. This is the community meeting on the 13th of January, 2021. So let's start by the discussion in regards to Lambda functions from Quentin and Patrick. Do you want to start? Quentin?
Quentin, do you want or should I?
Maybe you can tell some or give us some information on the test on the MongoDB, because you made the test with a quick fix, and after that we can talk about the current issues we have with the functions.
Oh yeah, I tested the MongoDB script from Janelle, so the adding of the index, and it unfortunately did not have any effect. So the problem still persists when hitting above 30,000 events. Everything gets quite slow, and the MongoDB has high CPU usage.
All right, so basically what you are saying is that we aren't failing on the non-indexed search. Then we should probably continue and investigate it. I thought that maybe the index would help, but you don't see any help from that at all, or is it maybe a bit better for you? Or?
It's a month ago that I ran the other tests, but I'm not feeling that it has any improvement. It could be a small improvement, but it's definitely not a big improvement.
All right, I understand. Okay, so I think that
Jeremy, just a second. Are we sure that in the test the index takes effect? Do we print the planning part of the queries? Because it might be that we added an index, but it wasn't selected. That's also a possibility.
Well, yeah, we did not verify it. I just thought that on the first step, we'll add add the index that we are querying using the MapReduce and see what happens. Since we did that prior to the New Year's Eve and stuff like that, so people went to vacations, and we are just catching on after like 1 month or something. So I think that the best way to do right now is we'll just, after the meeting, I guess I will sync with Patrick and Quentin, and we will debug it thoroughly. We will see that the query is actually hitting that, and also see that the index is getting created and actually being used. But yeah, it was something that we started doing prior to the New Year's Eve, and then with all of the vacations, we just came up. This is like the first time that we are talking about it since then.
This is not pressuring at all, because we have to work around with disabling the func stats. We can't do it after this meeting because I already scaled down the instance again. I can scale it up tomorrow again. So I'll write you up tomorrow when it's running again, and then we can sync then, and you can show me where I should look for if it's really working.
Yeah, sure. We should create a meeting tomorrow and see what we can do about it. Obviously, I will also try to replicate this in my local computer, but I don't have much resources, so I'm sure if I'll be able to replicate it correctly. But I will see what I can do in regards to that.
Yeah, perfect.
It would be really great if it's not only us seeing this problem, because there's also the possibility that we have we have made some error during building our images, so we can confirm it on your side as well. So this would be very helpful as well.
Yeah, obviously we can try and replicate it, but I'm not sure in regards to resources. I will need to see if we have the resources to replicate that, because we are currently, as you know, moving to Postgres. So all of our efforts and resources are on Postgres currently. But yeah, I will try to fetch up a cluster or something to run on MongoDB, and then see if we are failing on the same steps, like doing the same things. And if we are, then I will probably can even play with it and debug it, quicker.
Yeah, I don't think you have to put that much time in it, because we have a workaround for now, and this is not a crucial part of the NooBaa instance. So this is like a low priority issue. for us.
I understand. I just since
Yeah.
as far as I know, you don't have any other. Do you have any other higher priority issues that you are currently having with NooBaa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stuff with the lambda functions. So maybe let's get started with the more simple issue. This would be 6,350.
All right. I can do the screen share. I can present. Just a moment. I will try to present. Sorry, not this one. Yeah, a tab. Yes. So yeah, let's try to present a tab. All right. So can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. Great. So
Yes.
issue number.
6,350. Yes, this one.
Yeah, 50.
So it's the last one, right?
Yeah, 40 minutes ago. Okay, it's fresh.
Yeah. The issue we are having right now, or in the past, was that we enabled the endpoint autoscaling, and the endpoint seems to be not aware of running function calls that have been started and scales down nevertheless if they have finished or not. So we get some functions lost during the scale down if they haven't finished. So it would be a...
I can actually comment on that, and the one that implemented the autoscaling. We are using Kubernetes autoscaler, and there isn't any kind of mechanism inside autoscaler that I am aware of that will allow us to just halt the autoscaling operation. The assumption
Yeah, I know.
The assumption is
there's a method. You can if a downscale is made, Kubernetes sends a sick term to the process, and you can
That's
catch
correct.
this sick term, and then you have the termination grace period. If the process, if the pod doesn't terminate within the termination grace period, it will force shut down. But you can postpone this. So you should catch the sick term signal, and then wait until all functions are terminated, and then exit the process. This would be the correct way.
I'm aware of the sick term. Danny?
Yeah, I think Patrick is right. We don't have any graceful shutdown in any of our processes.
So there is a reason, but there is a reason to that. And we thought about graceful grace time on shutdown on the endpoints. The main issue is that it will affect any kind of sick-term shutdown, not only autoscale one. We have no way to differentiate between them. And this also
term is you don't need to distinguish between different sick terms. If you get sick term, it means that you want to terminate the process, and you should have a termination sequence. You know that if there are any functions that are running, and then wait for the functions to complete. And
yeah,
then,
I'm on the side.
Yeah, but I can, if you let me explain it a little bit more accurately. First of all, I believe that we are talking about long-running lambdas. In this case, a reasonable grace period will not help. Also, if we are talking about a grace period, sometimes the shutdown need to occur just because some things change on the spec, and you are halting the entire process of taking one pod down and getting another pod up in this grace period. So it cannot be a very long one. It cannot be like 5 minutes or even 1 minute.
We were thinking about 2 minutes maximum.
I don't know. We should test it and see what else is affected by it, because there isn't any real way to say this is the reason is scaled down. There isn't any.
I think that it's better to start with a longer grace period and then reduce it if we see that it's needed. But more on that, we have some extra work besides just increasing the grace period, because we need to go into this shutting down mode where the endpoint is not processing any new requests. So it's more than just increasing the grace period. It's not going to be an easy fix. I'm just saying it's something we probably need to do in all of our processes.
Yeah, so you should check if there are still any functions running, and if there are no functions running, you can terminate immediately. But if there are some functions running, you should postpone the shutdown, and then you can have.
Yeah, but it's not only for functions. It can also be for S3 requests that
that the endpoint works with, basically. So even if the endpoint is receiving any requests other than functions, we will need to remove it from the pool, from the load balancers and stuff like that. So the requests won't be sent to this endpoint, which is in a terminating state. So this is
you cannot do that. Again, this is managed by the load balancer. You can say I am not accepting new requests, but the request will get there.
No, as soon as pod is in state terminating, it won't get any new requests from the service.
No, you are actually correct. Yes.
Yeah, this is what we've said previously. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely an issue, because it makes sense that we won't just quit the pod and just leave all the lambdas dangling and not completing. So we'll definitely need to do some work in that. But like Danny and Noah said, it is not something that is a quick fix, in my opinion. So we will need to discuss and see how we do that gracefully and correctly without any issues.
We can continue the discussion on the issue itself and see what needs to be done here and how big is the effort.
Yeah, and I think that maybe another thing is that just to maybe expand this over more than Lambda for like S3 requests and other requests as well, and to handle those at the same time. This is like an issue that is with all of our processes, like you've said previously. So
we are actually already doing that for, I think, for the DB, or was it for core? I remember I fixed a bug that was related to grace period a couple of months ago. So we have it somewhere, but not a complete solution, just this grace period thing.
So on, you're absolutely right with the S3 connections that you could kill one there that's still running. But I don't think that's that much of an issue, because if the client sees that the connection is lost because the endpoint was shut down, then it will automatically retry in normal cases. You can advise your client to not automatically retry, but normally the defaults are that an S3 client will retry to the upload or the operation when it loses the connection.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense, but on the other hand, you don't want your clients to, if you have lots of load balancing stuff and people are uploading using single puts of like 1 GB files, you don't want them to always break and you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there are discussions that need to be taken into account when doing that. But yeah, basically for small things, you are right in regards to S3, but for large operations on S3, then we need to take a look and think about it. But yeah.
But it's good to test if maybe it's sufficient to just increase the grace period, because like I said before, when the pod is entering this terminating phase, it will not get any new requests.
I think the increase of the grace period is like the quickest thing that we can do, and the only drawback from that is that people who edit the endpoints and stuff like that, and into those autoscalers, they will just get the changes populated in several minutes, like 5 minutes or so, or whatever we decide. We can also put a cap on the Lambda functions as well, and make sure that people aren't running Lambda functions that last like 10 minutes or so. We already have caps on Lambda functions, but we just need to relook at it and discuss it regarding times on that, I think.
So yeah, just wanted to raise this issue. This is not that much of a major issue because our workaround currently is to not use the autoscaler.
So you are currently just running a single endpoint pod? This is what you are doing?
No, we are running 10 endpoint pods.
Just without autoscaling, just like by...
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I have a question regarding that. You did it by changing the min and max to 10, or did you just disable the autoscaler?
Min and max to 10.
Okay, so you have the autoscaler running. It's just that it's configured not to autoscale.
Yeah, right. So it's not running at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'd really like to have the autoscaler because I think it's very useful. But this is hindering us in regards to this, because when the load keeps dropping, then the endpoints get scaled down and the functions just vanish. Yep. Another way to fix this would be the other story Quentin raised, so 6,349.
Yeah, but maybe to make a link to the other issue, it would be a solution to also log if a function is terminated by a termination process that is going on due to the scale down of an endpoint. So this is linked to the other issue because we currently lack some logging of failed invocations of the function. So we need to see if a function has failed and maybe process on this information. Or maybe we can even implement a retry mechanism within the endpoint so that the function can be called a second time by the endpoint itself. And so we can monitor what is going on with the function.
I actually really like it, but it shouldn't come from the endpoint itself, because if the endpoint is shutting down, and this is the reason, you need the retry to be scheduled by a different component, not by the endpoint itself.
Yeah, but this would be much more complicated to hand it over to another endpoint if it's scaling down or if there's a problem. But sure, it would be great if this would be a solution.
So basically, just to recap, just to understand that I'm totally on this. So what you are saying is that if you ran a Lambda function that got terminated because of the pod getting terminated, then you want to retry this retry the Lambda function on the available endpoint pod that you have. This is
yes and no. So this is one case. This is one case, but we also experiencing about 0.1% of the functions failing. So even if nothing is shutting down, so we have our 10 endpoints and about 0.1% of the function calls fail. And we'd like them to be automatically retried. So these two issues are somewhat connected, but not directly. So this one, so the 4.9 is a major issue for us because every time a function fails, we need to check this and work around this to retry the function and to rerun it outside of NooBaa. So
Patrick, I have a question regarding that. Does the failure, do you consider a failure any kind of failure or just like panics? Because if a Lambda function failed because the Lambda function failed, it didn't accomplish whatever it needed to be accomplished. I think you are talking about panics, like an unintended failure.
It can also be a timeout failure. So we have a timeout set and...
So we are not quite sure why the function is failing, but our best guess is overload.
So it's a two-step solution, as you said. Rescheduling inside the same endpoint might be easier, But what we really need to know is to monitor what is running and rescheduled against the service, not rescheduled against the endpoint.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who should do it? Which component? It needs to be designed. It's not something that we can just.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, a workaround will be easier, but a full solution will take time.
Yeah, we know this is quite a major issue. So this is nothing that you could implement like 5 lines or something. But we would be really happy because we are having really some trouble from the outside to recognize which function calls failed and to reschedule the code we want to run. It would be really nice if NooBaa could handle this. Like, if I don't know, like how it's on AWS, but on Azure, if with the Azure functions, you have the possibility to select if a call should be retried, how often it should be retried, and you can even set if it should retry immediately or have an exponential backoff. So we just like some kind of retry mechanism.
So in Azure, I assume that they do the retry if the actual code inside the Azure function failed, not like the actual scheduling of the function failed, right? Yep. Which means if you, for example, if you have some bug in your Lambda function, then Azure lets you retry the bug, and you just like run this function, for example, 5 times, and it will fail all of the 5 times, right?
Yep. This would happen.
I just posted the AWS article in regards to retries and error handlings. Just as a reference to the.
But your main interest in regards to NooBaa is that you won't retry if you have like bugs in your Lambda function. You just want to make sure that the Lambda function got called, right? This is your main.
No, we are quite sure our Lambda function is working because, like I said, only 0.1% of the calls fail. So we do not know why these calls fail. Our best guess is that the endpoint has some overload and it runs in a timeout, or something else fails in some library. Sometimes we are quite sure if you retry these exact failed events, then they will succeed.
Yeah, so I think that the quick fix that we can do is we can actually let the users configure like number of retries, and we will just retry nevertheless what happens. Like even if it did not get invoked, or even if you have had some timeouts or bugs within the Lambda function, we will just retry it like several times, whichever you configure. I think that's like the quickest solution to your problem. I think that is like right?
Yeah, that would be absolutely sufficient, and we would be really happy about this. So this sounds really good if you can fix this, if you can implement this fast.
All right, I understand. We just need to handle the issue when the function actually gets killed because of the endpoint getting killed. So
actually, reading the document I just attached, it seems that the retry code and retry logic is on the client side in AWS. So we could do something on the server side. I'm just thinking if this is the right way to go, as AWS itself doesn't have this retry mechanism on the server, but on the client.
I think that we should align ourselves. We've tried to at least align ourselves to the Lambda of AWS as far as we can.
But these are 2 parts. There is 2 problems here that are captured with this issue. First, we don't log enough in order to give the reason for the failure, and this should be mitigated as soon as possible. Regarding actually doing retries, I agree that we should align with AWS behavior.
So yeah, if AWS doesn't do that, then I guess, I mean, we've tried to align to AWS, but we need to discuss. Maybe if maybe there is some request to do that. But
so disregarding the problem with the scale down, so we can currently absolutely live with having fixed 10 endpoints. But if you could implement something that every function that fails, no matter what the reason, would get retried, this would really help us.
But I think in the first step, logging would be awesome, because then we get the information and maybe can implement the service externally to handle all these events and do a rescheduling on the client side. So I think logging is most important in my perspective, because then we can handle it externally or internally, nevertheless how you decide to implement it.
I agree with Quentin on that. I agree that the login, I think that the login should be implemented for sure. And then we even if we implement the logging, we can decide how to handle it later on. So the logging is like the first step for solving this problem. I agree with you.
Quentin, may I ask, what kind of client do you use to connect to trigger lambdas?
To trigger? What do you mean by trigger?
No,
so the lambda
to register the lambda to the. Are you using something the AWS client, or are you using your own custom code?
Because so we're using AWS library from Python to upload files.
Okay, so this one from Python. I see. Because it is kind of vague from what I'm understanding, because you are not the issuer of the lambda. The lambda issues from an event.
Yeah.
So retry behavior, it's a little bit strange from what I'm reading here on the AWS article. It's supposed to be on the client side, but the client side is not the one who issuing the request. So I think it's a gray area in regard to the spec, what exactly needs to happen.
So the event is triggered by NooBaa because we have the hook set for object created. So in this case, the trigger of the function would be the client side would be NooBaa and not our code, because our code is just the upload, and this has not directly anything to do with if there is a lambda function or if there's not a lambda function.
I agree. I agree that NooBaa is the invoker. So I think there is an open question here. I understand the need that you are surfacing here, but I think there is an open question here. What is the AWS behavior? And there is a reason that we are sticking to most of the time to the AWS spec, because this is what a reasonable consumer would expect. So I think that it's a question that needs to be discussed exactly. But logging is the first step. Of course, that logging is the first step. We need to provide the info.
On the other hand, I mean, obviously, I agree that we need to stick to the spec. And even if we will, since this is some sort of a gray area, because we are like NooBaa is actually the client that handles the invocations of Lambda. So it kind of, for now, after the discussion, I mean, if we will add some retries to our logic within NooBaa, this means that those retries could be configured only using RPCs or like the UI or YAMLs, and they couldn't be configured using the native AWS SDKs for Lambda, because then they don't have this option there, as far as I understood from Andre.
So this is not totally correct, because AWS itself supports these events that we are supporting. So AWS itself has the same mechanism of responding to support by triggering lambdas. So we need to investigate exactly how they handle their retries. Maybe it's when you configure the event itself, you give this information. Again, I'm not sure.
I would say when you configure the event, you would give this information like you give the information of one-time memory and one-time at a whole.
This is my assumption, but I cannot see any proof that this is the way they handle it. Again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it differently. I'm just saying that we need to learn first what the spec says and then decide what to do.
So yeah, we would be really happy if you could discuss this, and if you could provide some solution for this. Our time schedule on this issue would be the next few months, if any possible. I know it's a little bit, yeah, we are asking quite much from you, so we are in a little bit of a problem here.
So this is the issue that is most important for you, the thing that you are trying to reschedule the lambdas. This is the more important than the issue when you are losing lambdas because of endpoints getting down, right? This is the priority.
Yeah, absolutely, because the scale down we can prevent by having a fixed number of endpoints.
All right, I understand. Okay, so yeah, I think that it's obviously something possible, but we need to investigate and deep dive more into the configurations in regards to native AWS Lambda usage and see what they do. And if they have the retry, we will obviously immediately implement it. But the first step, like we've said, I think that the logging should be definitely implemented. Nevertheless, what we decide to do in regards to retrying. So the logging is something that we need to schedule and push the code for it. I ain't sure about regards to timelines because we need to see what we have on our current features and stuff that we need to implement. But yeah, I will follow up on the bug, on the issue that you've opened on GitHub with the timelines and stuff that we will work on when we will discuss regards to that next meeting.
I just checked, and in the case of AWS, it's part of the event sourcing API. When you tie a Lambda function to an event, you can say maximum retry attempt. I just link it in on the channel on the chat. If we will do something, I believe that we should do it the same way. Or when we will do something about it, it should be something of the same.
Yeah. All right. So this kind of answers, right? If they have this configuration when you are creating the events, then it kind of solves out the issue with the retries because we will implement the same thing. I'm guessing. All right, cool. Do you have any other points in regards to NooBaa except the MongoDB and Lambda stuff? Quentin, Patrick?
Currently, I think not. Thank you in advance for discussing this and helping us out here. This helps us really a lot.
Yeah, obviously it works both ways because you actually find problems and things that we have left to handle later on and improve our Lambda capabilities, which is awesome. I mean, you're definitely using it heavily. And you're also understanding what you are doing and finding workarounds. So this is kind of terrific from your side. We just want to make sure that you aren't stuck in your flows and complete everything that you aim for, right? So yeah, I will definitely update. So I will change the priorities to Lambda. And we will leave MongoDB issue after the Lambda one, just to make sure that we will be able to implement something or like deliver to you something that within your time frame, which you've said how many months? Like 2 months?
2 or 3 months would be very nice. The sooner the better.
So it's like March, right? I assume.
Yeah.
All right, I understand. Okay. Do you have can you post like more info in regards? Oh yeah, you said you don't have any logging why the Lambda functions fail. All right, I understand. Okay, fine.
So maybe we can do some tests and find a setting where we can provoke this failing functions and produce some logs. But I think it's not very important why the function is failing, because it has to be logged and it has to be retried in this case.
Quentin, did you try to do the same with a higher logging level and not only the basic one?
No, not so far.
So I think you should try to do it with logging level 5 and see if you can gather the information. Because putting retries aside, we would like to know exactly what is the issue there, because it is an important thing either way to understand why we are failing.
It's quite hard to find these lines because with 0.1% we have like 3,000 events we send, and then we have quite some endpoint log to go through to find the line where it fails.
Yeah, I understand. But if you could try to do the same thing with a higher logging level, you will hit performance bottlenecks because of the higher logging. But at least one run of that and one reproduction will be very, very helpful.
Yeah, we can try, absolutely.
So this is something that only happens to you when you have like you've said, several thousand events and on heavy loading, right? You don't have those issues on the low loading.
Yeah,
side.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume maybe maybe it kind of happens right, because of constraints from like memory or like connections and stuff like that, right?
And also all the function calls are linked to other services within the cluster, so they get heavy load as well. And so maybe there is a timeout in one of the calls, and so one of the function is terminated before it can finish. And so there are multiple reasons why this failed, or this could fail.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. So the thing is also that even if we do the retries, you understand that this is not a bulletproof solution, right? Because you can actually make the problem worse, because you will just like create more retries than I mean you can maybe cycle much more retries and load this more heavily. I don't know, but yeah, we'll need to see.
Yeah, I see your point. This could happen, but yeah, I think because it's such a low percentage of failures, I think a retry would fix it. I'm quite sure, but I see your point definitely.
Yeah, but on the other, I mean, if AWS has it, then yeah, we need to implement it, of course, and obviously, if this helps you, then it is something that we must do. Okay, so this is in regards to Lambda. Do we have any updates from our end? Maybe someone we run, Oad, Danny, Romy, Jakey, someone wants to update on something on the NooBaa end, or we'll just conclude this meeting. Yes, no?
Maybe you can give us some information about
something. I'm writing a blog. I don't know if you'll be interested in reading it, but I'm writing a blog regarding having NooBaa on one cluster with spokes on other cluster, basically endpoints that's running on remote clusters, which give you data locality when accessing cloud networking. So just think about, for example, AWS cross regions or something like that.
You are still writing that, right? You don't have.
I believe it will be ready by next week, by the meeting by next week. So I could.
We will have a meeting in 2 weeks. So it is like every 2 weeks we have a meeting.
Yeah, or in 2 weeks.
I will attach your document to the agenda of the next meeting, and we'll be able to take a look at it and see. Quentin, you were saying something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any progress on your Postgres tests. Is there any possibility that we can move to Postgres for first tests on our environment as well, or are you in development heavily right now?
We are currently still, I mean, we've developed it. We have a run-in system on top of Postgres, and we are actually doing our CI cycles on that and tests on that. Obviously, we are finding some issues that we are still fixing. I don't think that it is like stable enough to give it away. Obviously, you can take the upstream and always play with it because the whole code is on our master branch of noobaa-core and the noobaa-operator. So if you take the master branch from both of them, you will have the most I mean the updated code, and it should run, and it runs on top of Postgres. NooBaa runs on top of Postgres, but we do have some issues there. This is.
I just want to add that since you're working a lot with functions, expect to see. I know at least one bug that will prevent functions to work, and since functions are currently not GA'd downstream in OCS, and MongoDB is still working upstream, then functions are given a lower priority right now. Functions on top of Postgres. The specific bug I know of, we're trying to fix it anyway. So hopefully we fixed in the following week, and you will be able to dip your toes and test it a little bit, but I would suggest to wait with it for now.
Yeah, I totally forgot about it. Thanks, Danny. So I will just move a bit more on top of that. So yeah, for your use case, Lambda functions won't be currently working on top of Postgres because I don't know if you know, but currently on Mongo, we are using the gridfs from Mongo, which is like a chunk which saves chunks of data. So we actually save all of the Lambda function code on top of Mongo gridfs, which is within your local cluster, and then we load from that your Lambda invocations. So when we've moved to Postgres, we did not yet implement the replacement for the Lambda function storage. I did some POCs locally on my computer without committing any code. Using Postgres has something which is called large objects, which is basically also saves chunks in Postgres. And I did a POC which uses that instead of gridfs, and but I did not commit any code. So the master doesn't have this feature yet. So like Danny said, it is better for you not to use the Postgres yet because you won't be able to use Lambda at all.
But if you want to test it regardless to Lambda, I don't see why not. I think you can try it out.
Sure, if you want to experiment putting Lambda functions aside, you're more than welcome to experiment with it and give us feedback. And if you find any bugs that we did not see, we would love to know about. But just know that Lambda functions are currently not supported on Postgres.
And I put on the notes the flag. You can use this flag when you're installing. Change it from MongoDB to Postgres, and it should bring up noobaa with Postgres.
You just need to make sure that you build the recent, like the master for the operator, for the noobaa-operator, when you will use this flag, and also build the latest noobaa-core and run this on top of that. So yeah, that's as long as you do that, you can deploy a working Postgres system. But yeah, like I've said, in regards to timeframes and stuff, if you want to play with it, cool, play with it. We will be thankful, but Lambda won't work on it for sure on top of Postgres. Just letting you know, because this is a heavy feature for you as far as I know. So, but we will solve this, and we are working on it. We just have other issues that we are working on right now as well in regards to Postgres.
Just wanted a little update what the current state of work is with Postgres. So if you have anything you want us to test, we are happy to test. We can deploy a new instance of noobaa with and test whatever you want. So just hit us up if you have anything you want to heavily test from us.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the time, obviously take our images for 5.7 and just deploy it and play with it. We will be thankful for any interaction that you will do with our Postgres, because it is something new, and we definitely have issues obviously there. And as long as more people use it, we will find more things, which is great. So like Liran wrote down in the comments in this meeting, you can either use the DB type and change it to Postgres, and use the images for noobaa-operator and noobaa-core that Liran gave in the Noob chat, in the chat of this meeting. So if you will have the time, please deploy it and use it, and let us know of any problems that you encounter, which are not Lambda, because Lambda doesn't work. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, but we want to get in touch with these new features as soon as possible to get a feeling how we can adapt our processes to the new database. And so we would love to get rid of Mongo as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, then definitely just go for it and play with it. And I will push from my side to implement the large objects, so we will be able to store the Lambda functions on top of that. Or maybe we'll decide to use something else. But this is like the first thing that came to my mind as a plugin for a replacement for GridFS. So yeah, but we are working on it. We definitely are working on it, and it will be in the upcoming. I'm guessing like month or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on our schedules and on the bugs that we will have. Yeah, I cannot promise on that, but we definitely work on it, and we have replacements for that. So it is not Postgres will support Lambda, and this is something that will be supported for upstream for sure.
So we don't want to push you making this feature available for us faster. We just are very interested and keen on this topic. So if you have anything that we should test for you, or in our production environment, we're happily serving you. And so we will have a first look, I think, in the next weeks to test it. I think Patrick is keen on this topic as well.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
yeah, sure. You can try and deploy Postgres for now and see how this works. If you will have any issues or something, just let us know, and we'll obviously help you with the deployment and assist you in that. And we'll be happy for you to use it. And if we have more, even if you are even interested more, I think that you are very interested in that. So that's cool. I mean, it is a win and a win for us and win for you, I guess. Right. So just update on the random, or just feel free to PM someone, and we'll assist you with that. Yeah, cool. All right. I guess I will conclude this meeting. I will update the agenda in the docs for this meeting, and I will update on the PR, on the issues on the GitHub. How we will advance with the implementation of retries and the implementation of shutdowns for endpoints, and obviously Mongo later on. Thank you for joining, and thank you for opening new issues and finding new things. And we'll see you in the upcoming weeks, like in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.